Okay, so first question. I need some help handling finances. As a woman, I don't want to feel like I'm always being taken care of, but it's hard when I always pay more and I feel stuck in a masculine role and don't know how to get out of it. So it sounds like she doesn't necessarily want to feel like a burden to her partner, that they have to completely provide for her, which I think is normal. But it sounds like it's swung to one extreme, like end of the spectrum, where now she has kind of gotten into the habit of paying for everything and doesn't really know how to either change herself or have the conversation with her partner about maybe stepping out of the masculine providing role all the time and into a more feminine, surrendering, receiving role is what it sounds like. And we don't know if she's in a dating relationship or married, so we gotta make some assumptions here.
Let's assume that she's asking how to get out of this stuck position in the masculine role that she is articulating. The first thing that comes to mind for me is feeling like you are being taken care of is a healthy component to a deep relationship. Mm-hmm. Feeling like arm candy or feeling like you are incompetent is different.
Or entitled.
Yeah, or entitled. And so I understand the sensitivity of not wanting to feel like you have to be taken care of in order to be like competent in life. But I feel like the risk with this approach is not unlike when someone doesn't want to get their heart broken, so they refuse to be vulnerable or get close to someone in any relationship. And it's kind of like, well, if you want a deep, intimate relationship, you're going to have to be vulnerable. That doesn't necessarily mean in this case that she needs to stop paying for things or that she needs to start letting her partner or boyfriend pay for everything. Mm-hmm. The literal money component to quote unquote I've said quote unquote like 7 times in this episode. The literal money component of being taken care of is too narrow to be able to support how critical being taken care of or feeling as if you're being taken care of in a relationship actually is. Mm-hmm. And so I think she's putting too much stock and too much weight into the money piece of the relationship when the thing behind the thing really has to do with why is it so scary for you to feel like you are being taken care of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so my question for her would be, sure, we can break down some specifics on how you can maybe have a conversation with your partner about sharing the responsibility of paying for things like dinner and rent and groceries and all that. And that's totally fine. But that is dealing with a downstream issue when I think the upstream theme of being taken care of is where the sensitivity is at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And this could come from, a childhood situation where maybe she was told by her mom, like, you got to take care of yourself. Maybe her mom's husband or boyfriend or whatever, like, left, and she had a single working mom, and she learned that, like, you can't trust men. You got to take care of yourself. And, I got to always be able to lean on myself. I got to make my own money. I got to be independent. I can't rely on men to provide for me.
Well, and I think, it's kind of like the 1950s housewife thing where most women, unfortunately, were left to household responsibilities, and they, get a couple kids, and all of a sudden they haven't worked in 4 or 5 years, and maybe they're not even, in some cases, really extreme cases, not even driving the car. Mm-hmm. And they're kind of turning into this like 50s housewife gone crazy and don't have a resume and feel incompetent in life. And so I think there's a sensitivity around not wanting to dull one's world skills such that they have to be cornered into one place in life whether that be motherhood or whether that be just like this sort of like stay-at-home wife thing, that I understand and appreciate. But there is I think a deeper question around, what do you really want in the relationship? Because right now it's like you're frustrated in the masculine role, but part of a deep, intimate relationship is having some level of fluidity as it pertains to those masculine and feminine dynamics. And if you are really choosing or interested in more feminine components to your relationship dynamic, surrender is going to be a pretty big piece to it. Receiving is going to be a pretty big piece to being feminine.
I would guess that like this doesn't just show up in her finances. I'm guessing that it probably shows up in the bedroom. I'm guessing that it might show up in day-to-day things where she feels like she has to lead the relationship in different aspects. One thing that I will say is, if you are in obviously she's in a relationship. If you're wanting to make these changes to how you show up, I would heavily encourage you to not just change things out of the blue and expect your partner to change too. If you've sort of gotten into a rut or a pattern of you always pay for this, et cetera, don't put your partner through a test that he doesn't know that he's taking.
Yes.
If you just stop paying for things and you're like, well, he's going to figure it out. He's got to figure it out. And if he doesn't figure it out, then he's not the one for me or whatever. We all get into patterns. And if this is something that's really important to you, which it sounds like it is, then he deserves to have a sit down conversation. Invite him into a conversation, invite him into a check-in. We have a whole episode on check-ins, episode 113, where we go through the structure of how to have healthy dialogue with your partner and how to set that container such that it's productive and respectful and you both feel like you've been able to share in a meaningful way, such that you don't become resentful towards each other because, again, you're putting your partner through a test they don't know they're taking. That's completely unfair. So that would be my little tying this in a bow, is like, talk to your partner about it. Let them know, like, hey, I've noticed that this pattern is coming up. Hopefully, he's a good man and he also wants to contribute. And I would also say that if you are in a dating relationship, not married, which I would guess, because if they're married, then everything's kind of theirs and it doesn't really matter who pays because it's kind of both of your money anyways, right? So if this is a dating scenario and you're not having conversation around your values around money, that's important to, like, step one, star, because these things are never going to go away. They're only going to amplify if you end up with this person and you don't have at least similar values around money, and how you contribute and things like that. That is definitely step one.
Yeah, great point. Money is a really critical component to relationship success. So, and I'm going to speak to the ladies who have been in a more masculine role. I don't mean a man role. I mean a masculine role in the form of breadwinning. And they've been doing it for a while. And they're wearing other masculine roles in their relationship. It might be very hard to quickly transition some of those roles and responsibilities to your longtime partner who is a male and has been in the more feminine aspect of the relationship dynamic. My recommendation would be to start small and maybe not with finances right away. And so if you are in one of these relationships where you are wearing the pants, that's an old term, but it's legit. It might be worth having a conversation with your significant other about sharing some of these responsibilities and starting small. It can be as simple as, I would like you to start participating in some structure and discipline with our children. I would like you to start participating in where we use our money, how and what our goals and dreams are as it pertains to our income. Mm-hmm. Maybe don't hand them the bank account yet if you've been managing that for the last 5 to 10 years, but start enrolling them in that. Mm-hmm. As time progresses and the muscle is built to some degree of this poor guy's dimmed masculinity, then you can start maybe even sharing some of those. But my concern would be if you just hand that over to your partner that you've stifled through over masculine expression, that he will be failing almost not to his fault, right? Like he's had a atrophied muscle.
Yeah. And new patterns require time and patience and for ourselves and our partners. So just have some empathy and patience and let us know how it goes. We would love to hear back from you.
Thank you so much for listening.
If you enjoyed that, check out right over here for some more fun clips.
Oh, and you're going to want to subscribe.
Bye.